One,
Yes.
2, 3. Got it. 1, 2. Yeah, I think we have enough.
We're missing you.
What?
We're missing you from the bottom of your nose through the
Wait,
top of the
oh, this
screen.
meeting is being recorded. Okay. That's all right. We just need to press continue. There, that's all right.
We're here to discuss the proposed rezoning of 314 West Wieuca and 2 other lots. And Kenny Ellsworth, I think is on the screen.
I'm here.
Is going to talk to us about it,
Yeah, I see that.
and we'll know something about it.
No,
So
I'll wait.
you want to tell us what's up, and then we can ask questions and get comments.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
I apologize. I'm not in front of my computer. I'm on a street corner. So if it gets loud, let me know. What we're looking, it's actually 4 lots. There's 3 residential lots facing West Wieuca. One's zoned RLC, the others are R4. And there's a triangular piece in the back there that does not front the street, but it has some Nancy Creek frontage behind those lots. And the total acreage on the 4 of them together is, correct me, Jess or Paul, I don't have it in front of me, but it's between 4 and 5 acres, right? 4.7, I want to say.
4.8.
4.8.
4.8, right. The bulk of that land is in the floodplain. So what we're hoping to do is combine those 4 lots and rezone them all to a PDH, where we can cluster the FIR that's allotted for that acreage up in the front near West Wieuca. We're looking at 11 lots, and then convert the rest of that to a green space that is 3.5 or so acres. It's on the site plan. I apologize again. The idea there being that we've reserved a sliver of land as it comes toward West Wieuca on the west side there for a public access way. So so that could be a nice public access park back there.
Kenny, if you could hold on one second, does everybody have the document that he's referencing?
Yeah.
Would you
Well,
like?
I think it'd be
I
good
have-
if you share the screen.
I don't
I'll
know.
go ahead and share my screen, and then Kenny, you can keep talking.
Great.
By the way, hey, Kenny, can you again identify your role in this whole process?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my name's Kenny Ellsworth. I am an architect with Studio Sogo Architects. We're here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I'm Jessica Flake. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself before Kenny jumped on the line, but he and I work together. I'm a project manager at Studio Sogo, and I just jumped on the call in case he has to hop off to get to Hamilton. So it's nice to meet everyone.
And then you also have Paul and Edie Weintraub, we're the owners.
Oh,
Okay.
All right, Kenny, we've got the site shown on the screen.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Don't ask me anything. I can't look, Nick.
Okay, so yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. Is we're looking to rezone 4 lots to PDH. We have 7 houses there, clustered on the front. The FAR for the whole project is 0.15. So we're well under the FAR for that acreage, and a 3.5 acre park.
You said, did you say 7 or 11 home sites?
11.
Yeah, 11.
Right.
those
So
of
we have
you
a one-way drive coming off of West Wieuca to access the drive between the 2 rows of houses. Coming in on the east side and coming out on the west side, I believe. This has, we've submitted the application for the rezone to the city. We've met with the CRC, the Concept Review Committee. So everybody has, or all the major departments have had a chance to look at that and give us some input. And so there were a few minor comments, but we are in compliance with, the DOT and the fire marshal and arborist and zoning and all of the major departments. So we wanted to share it with you and try to, hopefully get your approval and sign off on it so we can get the rezone done.
Kenny, how does the proposed park work? I know you have a 10-foot strip over on the left-hand side of this plat to go back into it, but where does it start and who's going to own it and who's going to manage it and maintain it, and have all the neighbors around the park signed off on it?
That is a great question. I think, Paul, you might be the one to want to answer maintenance and ownership of the park.
Yeah, so we're in discussions with Livable Buckhead. So the idea would be, we would plan on donating it to probably Livable Buckhead, but we're also talking to others. We just happen to have a relationship with Sally Silver, and she's with Livable Buckhead. So that's who we've been discussing it with. We've reviewed the plans with her as well. She's given her recommendations from a park perspective of how it would be best suited for the park, and also asked, who's going to build, that sliver. So we would provide the access back there, and then it would be donated to whatever nonprofit.
You mean it would be donated fee simple ownership?
I'm not familiar with that.
Without cost to whoever takes it?
Right. It would be a straight donation.
Well, when I look at this map, Jessica, I see the length of 30 lots and then a big one. What is included in the 3.9 acres, I suppose, is really what I want to know.
It's all the green area. So it's included that big lot there. What we were trying to do was, this is a completely landlocked area, that triangle back there. There's literally no way of accessing it. And for us, we live in the area. So we live off Statewood. So this is very much personal to us as well. We wanted to provide more green space for our area and create a way of accessing it, because it's a beautiful area back there, and there's literally no way of getting there without trespassing on people's land.
So everything above that to the right goes to Valley Green then?
Valley Green's to the upper left corner there. They buffer up onto that, yeah.
Oh.
But it doesn't touch Valley Green, right? It touches the lots that are on Valley Green?
Correct.
Valley
That's
Brook.
exactly.
You mean Valley Brook?
No, I mean green, I think.
No.
Valley Green would be to the right, to the east. Valley Brook would be kind of along that straight line, I believe.
Oh, okay. I have to look at the
So
map.
you're hitting multiple neighborhoods here with people whose backyards would be impacted by a public park.
Well,
And-
the other thing to note, though, that's Nancy Creek, where you see on the triangle there. So the river actually is, the creek, I should say, is actually
Correct.
breaking out.
And so that's the side that Valley Green is on. Valley Brook would be on the left. So Meadowbrook neighborhood, Valley Brook Drive is the one impacted, not Valley Green.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Danny, or do you have another site plan that shows it in the context of the other parcels around it? I see there's a map down below, but that's probably not. Well, that might do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, now I see Valley Brook.
So if you can see my mouse,
Yeah,
that is the triangular property that aligns up to Nancy Creek. And then right here where you see this pin, that is 314 West Wieuca. So it's these three lots here, and then they connect to this triangular lot.
how did the triangular lot become connected somehow to all this? You just out of curiosity, I don't think don't know if it matters, but.
Yeah, so the backstory is the family that originally developed Valley Brook kept that parcel, as part of the development from Valley Brook, and ended up giving it to his heirs. And so, they had this parcel, unfortunately, that they never did anything with, and they put it on the market, I want to say just about a year ago, and reached out to all the surrounding properties. A previous parcel map showed that our first property actually connected back into that triangle. So they were trying to find an easement to get access to it. And as you can see, it's 100% landlocked. And so it was very difficult. So we ended up saying, well, we feel like we can add that to the green space we're planning. So we will purchase that from you. And we did that earlier this year.
And we also own if the first three, we don't own the next one, but we own the one after that as well. So we were actually approached twice because we have two properties that actually back up to that piece there.
Courtney, do I take it you're on Valley Brook?
Yes, I am a resident on Valley Brook Drive. And so I joined tonight with looking for just more clarity about how that sliver of land is going to be used. And I do have some concerns. If you would like me to state them now, I'm happy to.
Sure.
So I'm actually a little bit further down. My backyard does not butt up to the sliver directly, but one of the reasons we bought our house on Valley Brook Drive was because there was zero access through the backyard. And so as a mother of two, as a wife whose husband travels often for work, that made me feel safe. And so with the increase in crime in Atlanta, having public access to my backyard makes me very concerned. So I'm just looking for more insight about how you are going to stop the public from entering the backyards of Valley Brook.
So our intent is to donate the land. So we could just not donate it and give it to the community, but we were trying to do something positive for the community because we also live in the neighborhood as well. So that would be something on the donation side when we actually give that land to Livable Buckhead or whatever group. But at this point,
Right.
we haven't done that. So we're private owners of it at this point.
So to whomever, there's no answers because you don't know who is going to own that public park yet.
Correct. So right now we do. So
Okay.
we could choose to just keep it, or we could choose to donate it at this point.
Got it. Now, I do
Hopefully
appreciate.
at some point, not too far down the line, you should make that clear and be prepared to incorporate it into going very far forward.
Yeah, so the intent is to donate it because there is a lot of interest from a lot of different nonprofits to create green space in the area. And so we've been approached to donate it. If the community is going to stop Livable Buckhead from developing on it, I think that's kind of outside of our purview.
Courtney, did you have other comments? Or is that
I guess my only other comment would be that until we know exactly what's going to happen to that sliver, as a resident, I state my opposition to this entire development.
And then we could just not donate it then.
I mean, I would be happy if it stayed green space with the trees and the marsh and the flood zone. I think that's a very important part of our ecosystem as well. I don't necessarily think we need another park as long as it stays green ecosystem.
Yeah, so this would be in line with Blue Heron because it is a floodplain, as is the backyards of all the homes over there. So there isn't an ability by Livable Buckhead or us to develop in there at all. So it would stay exactly as it is. The only way that they would, or the only possible use of it would be for like Blue Heron to create a walkway for people to actually have a trail for them to walk through.
Okay, so that alone is very helpful to know. When you say public park, I'm thinking taking trees out, putting a playground in.
No, it's not allowed. There's no, we've been made very clear of that we couldn't put even a playground in there. Once Livable Buckhead would own it, the only thing they can do is create a common walkway for folks like us, all of us here who live in the neighborhood, to actually walk through it. The marsh would have to stay as is.
Well, and Courtney, also from a safety perspective, I was very thankful last year to have Blue Heron. We have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, and it was a saving grace to have some outdoor space where they could just go and skip rocks and, just walk in the woods. So as you can see here, there is zero access to it. So beyond.
Clean up, guys, when you're done, okay? Everybody's gonna help clean up today.
beyond the walking path, there's no means for cars to come and park here. So it's really meant to be an amenity to the neighborhood. So if you've been to Blue Heron, there's multiple access points and it stretches very far. There is one point where there's some parking, there's a school there, but then there's a whole other section along Emma Lane where you can drive, you can park your car. So I think another added benefit is there is no vehicular access here. It's really for the neighbors.
Got it. Okay. And that I love. I have little ones as well. And my son plays in the creek all the time. Not sure how healthy that is, but thinking about like Little Nancy Creek Park, I know there's been an influx of crime and break-ins there around that park. So I appreciate your clarification on this. And that's just really what I was looking for.
Got it. Yeah, and there's no there's no ability for us to there wouldn't be any parking. And the community itself, in the drawings, we have a gate for the community to get in and out of it. So there's, it's not going to be very easy for people to just park there. There's really no place to park on West Wieuca, as you know. It's really.
And it's probably going to be more like the hidden gem that you and we know about, rather than anybody else knowing. Whereas, Blue Heron obviously has a little bit more in the way of signage and other activities nearby where you can park. It's going to be probably a little secret park.
Has anybody talked to the neighbors that abut the property on the not the Valley Brook, but the Valley Green side, the park?
So actually on Valley Brook side,
well, that's who we were just talking about. I'm talking about the other side on Valley Green.
So Nancy Creek actually breaks the park away. So you'd actually have to cross. So we haven't at this point because we figure Nancy Creek creates a natural barrier from them.
And then Valley Brook, I see the difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what else? What other questions does anybody have?
So you said there's 4 properties, and then the Thompsons, I guess, own that one between y'all. Are they okay? Have you got any letters from them that they're amenable to this?
Yeah, no, we've had multiple conversations with them, and unfortunately they left. They lived half the year in London and half here, and so given the time change, I had not had a chance to pin them down and walk them through this, but we are very friendly with them, and they know that we have plans to do a project on the site. It's just a matter of formalizing a letter that we can submit to you.
Okay.
Hey, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one issue with this project. The way I look at this, we have 3 affordable housing units that are on this property right now, and we're planning to replace them with 11 non-affordable housing units. And have you given any consideration, or would you give consideration to somehow replacing those 3 affordable housing units within your development so that we don't actually lose affordable housing by this development?
There's a lot of other projects that are happening in the area. There's townhouses across the street and on the way to Chastain that are in the 4s and the 5s. So there's others that are happening in the market that are well within kind of the price points that we're looking for these.
That's not the point, really, is it?
I mean,
the point is you are eliminating 3 affordable housing units in order to produce 11 very non-affordable. And I don't consider 500K to be all that affordable either. I'm not sure what the break point is for that neighborhood, but
that's sort of where the price point is for these 3 homes at this point. Because we put offers. I can tell you, we have an offer across the street for 550. So the home prices are gone up quite a bit.
On your proposal, you say they're $380,000 a piece.
When we originally bought them, yes.
So that's what they're worth right now.
No, so we purchased them 7 years ago, and so obviously the rates that you've seen have climbed in regards to price points and value.
Yeah, our taxes are based on 540, 450, and somewhere around that range at this point. So that's the tax dollars we're paying on those 3 properties right now.
Okay, so you're saying it's consistent with what you're calling affordable housing across the street. All I'm
Correct.
saying is, why not consider, say, taking a couple of these townhouses and turning them into duplexes or something else that would be, that would add maybe more than 3 affordable units. I mean, isn't that what Atlanta is trying to do? They're not trying to eliminate affordable housing and replacing it with $1 million house.
Yeah, I think that the reality is that it doesn't make the project viable.
Oh, that can't be.
Yeah, it could be.
Yes, it could be.
What,
I
it could
don't,
be,
I
it
don't
could be that,
really believe
that
that the
$11 million.
project itself is completely viable.
Hmm?
I spent a lot of time earlier just today poring over this idea in words I didn't have with this drawing. And I kept getting the same answer, and I kept feeling it can't be this, but it is, I think. If anybody can work through this and take it to its end, you get the you get that the add in the parcel for the future park, and you have
5 acres.
I can't make it work numerically, and I hope somebody else would take it to a try.
Well, I'm just looking at the Zillow location on this property, and the 3 properties have a combined Zillow estimate of $1.8 million.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, and you want to sell them for 11 million. I don't see how it's, how
It's
that,
a unit, Peter, you gotta do.
I gotta build it. 250 a square foot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think $500,000 a parcel is affordable housing, you know.
well, I don't think $1 million is for sure.
Well, Buckhead, that's not affordable, but it's the price range. But you know, those houses, you know, they're buying the lot.
So could you please define for us what you consider affordable?
Me?
That was your question.
I don't know, maybe 400,000, but the point is you could put in more units.
No, I can't. We've gone through that scenario. We cannot. If you notice, the lot is incredibly difficult to work with. We've gone through a lot of costs and pain to try to fit the number of units that we have at the size we have. These are not huge units.
Yeah,
You know, they're
3 stories, right? They're 3 stories.
They are 3 stories in order to
So
even
I
get
mean,
to where we are.
why couldn't they be vertical duplexes, for example?
Because again, the model doesn't work. Financially, operationally, it just doesn't work. And we were trying to actually transition the neighborhood, since it's already single family, we wanted to transition it to single family and keep it the same. We initially started with townhomes and try to look at duplexes, and we can only fit a few more units in there. They become very small, and it becomes a saturated market because right behind us on Dilbeck, you have 80 units that are going up in the 400 to 500 range. So there's your 400 to 500 range, and they're 1,100 square feet, 1,100 square feet to 1,300 square feet for 400,000 to 500,000. Actually, they've increased now to about 515, 520 on their other development across the way. That's affordable housing there. 1,100 square feet to 1,300 square feet for 500.
From a vision standpoint, this is kind of going to be like that property that backs up to Nancy Creek there behind Publix, where all the townhomes are there that back up to Nancy Creek there by the park.
Rickenbacker.
But those are townhomes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's sort of, we looked at that, exactly. We looked at that community. And that's why we started with townhomes, but we said we could do, it would be nicer if they were single family homes so that people, townhomes are falling a little bit out of favor. People want a little bit more privacy. So that's sort of where we went with it.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Would you guys be installing a sidewalk as part of your development?
Yes.
Is it a very important long-range goal, or hopefully short-range goal for the neighborhood is sidewalks on West Wieuca?
We absolutely agree.
Absolutely. It's not fun because we walk over there from our house and we take the park, we take Blue Heron, and then we end up on Rickenbacker. Rickenbacker's no problem to walk down, but then cutting around that corner between Wieuca, West Wieuca is a death trap there. I mean, it's your life in your hands trying to.
Not only from a pedestrian standpoint, but also getting out of some of those, driveways and access points is challenging.
You need sidewalk all the way down would be wonderful.
But your project would construct a sidewalk there?
Correct.
Part of it. Okay.
And when we tie in, there's a sidewalk at the very edge of the left, so we would tie into that. But yeah.
Do you know how wide it is? And I don't have a number in mind, actually, because I don't know
Yeah.
I mean, we'll make it
It's on the
consistent.
other drawing. It's on the.
Yeah,
other
there it is, 5 foot.
I think it's in line with the Kenny.
5 foot sidewalk.
Oh,
zone.
5 foot, there you go.
And it's set 5 foot back from, there's a strip of grass or whatever.
Yeah.
But tell us the furniture,
Sidewalk.
familiar with that phrase. So where you put your furniture when you evict people?
Or hurricane.
That one I'd have to rely on Jessica or Kenny. That's beyond my,
Gone on to the play. Jessica, what you think? What's a furniture zone?
I'm gonna have to defer that to Kenny. I hope he's still on the call, because I was not here for the development of that drawing.
Well, it's not critical.
Right. What I believe it is that it's just a zone of green space for trees and any sort of planters to kind of
That's
give a
right.
buffer from the street.
it's a buffer zone. That's what it was. Kenny told us, yes.
Yeah, it may just be a different term that I'm not familiar with.
I have two questions.
Yes, sir, go.
How do you all plan to accommodate parking? It looked like these units are 3-bedroom, which could potentially be 3 vehicles per unit. I don't see any driveways, and I'm guessing 2-car garages max. So where does anybody park when they come to visit family or friends, or even just be able to park for their actual unit?
You want that one, or you want me to take it?
Yeah.
Okay. They're similar in scope to the ones that are off of Land O'Lake that are directly across the street from Pike Nursery, in that not only do you have a 2-car garage, but you have a stretch of concrete leading to your space. So you can put the 2 cars in the garage and then you have room to park a vehicle there. And they are 3-bedroom, but I think, the targeted market for these folks are really more 2-bedroom, 1 office. So in terms of just capacity of the units, I think the price points are going to lean a little bit more towards some empty nesters, some families, kind of a balance across the board.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something that is definitely going to need to be thought through. I come from a development and engineering background, and I can tell you vehicles are going to be an issue here. You don't have any on-street parking, which Rickenbacker does have. And I don't know the size of those units, but this, even with that 5-foot strip, there's only about 30 feet between the units, which is already tight to back a car out and get into the, right of way where cars are driving. So I'm a little concerned that, this is going to create some street traffic and parking challenges. And then my other.
I'm sorry, if you don't mind, I believe it would be helpful to have Kenny or Jessica weigh in here, but I think that was the 16-foot wide, because it's a one-way street, which would allow for cars to park on the street But I would need Jessica or Kenny to answer that.
And another addendum to that is
I
that,
have Jessica.
That's correct. A 16-foot one-way would allow for parking on one side of the street.
Any other comments?
Yeah, and then my only other question is, it looks like there's a floodplain at elevation 831. And in looking at the site section cut, is this site being filled 20 feet to get out of a floodplain? Is that what the intention is here, to get up elevated to build these structures in the back?
No, there is no infilling. It's not even allowed. You're talking about these pictures right here that are up?
For some reason, I'm not seeing any.
Oh,
He was referencing the site section, and this is the only site section on the document that we
Okay.
provided.
so the floodplain is actually at 830. Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, 830, I think it's 830. So this is above the floodplain. We have to be outside that floodplain. We're not doing any development in the floodplain. What that cross section is showing, so if you go.
Sorry, I was looking for the floodplain line.
When we had conversations with the city, they asked to explain how we were going to have the houses in here and how the garages were going to fit. So we did these cross sections so they could get a better understanding of how we're doing it. So the 851 to 841 is the houses on the front, at the front of the street. You're coming in from the back side there on the garage. And then the other part of it was the elevation. So in order to stay under the 35-foot requirement that the city has, we showed the cross section. You'll see where the garage kind of that's kind of the dirt level going down. So there's essentially a stair step retainment there in order to keep with the 35-foot. Because the way I guess I was learning for me because I'm not a developer, but is the bedroom on the third floor, even though we're not developing that back half of the house, it's still considered 35 feet all the way across. So we have to make up that difference in order to get to 30, was it 30? Yeah, 33 feet or whatever the parameters were. So they wanted to see that on the front and the back. So that's why we added that. But we are out of the floodplain entirely.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Pat Fiorello, and I just live across the street at 341 West Wieuca in the Charleston on Wieuca, and I'm working with Robert on his North Buckhead signature street team and all. And having lived here for over 20 years, I know the traffic situation on West Wieuca. And I was wondering about the flow in and out of those driveways, because I don't know if you know, but when it gets to around rush hour, sometimes the traffic is backed up from what you exactly said as the death trap at Wieuca and West Wieuca. The traffic will be backed up from there all the way to Roswell Road. So we can't even get out of our gate on West Wieuca. So I'm thinking about now 11 more or possibly 22 more people coming in and out of there. If you come out of there, you really need to go right towards Roswell. You can't cross and go left. Like, is there going to be a directional requirement of how they go? Otherwise, it's already a really bad traffic situation. It's going to be worse if people are trying to cross over to go, say you're coming out the exit, and instead of going towards Roswell, you're trying to go to Wieuca. If you're going to try to cross over that traffic, it's really going to be tying things up even more. Like I said, there's some days where I can't leave our property during rush hour because so much traffic there. So what's the thinking on the in and out and the flow of the traffic onto West Wieuca?
Sure. So we did work with the city on that. That's why we ended up with the flow pattern we have. So there's 3 curb cuts today. So we're getting rid of 1 curb cut. And that's why there's 1 in and 1 out. Because initially what we had was 2 ins, 2 outs. And so then you had multiple flows coming out. So we wanted to kind of focus it all into that one direction there. The other thing is that although there's 3 homes there, you know, we rent those homes today, and I can tell you 3 to 4 to 5 cars there, because they tend to be single roommates. There's 3 roommates, and they all have, you know, girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. So we actually didn't expect there to be exponentially a number of cars, but we felt like by taking out the one curb cut, by focusing all the attention off of one in and one out, that would help. The left-hand turn, that's more of I don't know, Jessica, if you can answer that from a traffic pattern, because I think that would have to be done by the city.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, I don't know that we have control over that. I think it's a good question. But I think the city would have to dictate whether or not they would have to go right and then UE or something to make a left turn.
Okay, so how is that sort of issue raised? Because that really could be a significant backup, especially during the rush hour time. If people are crossing over, that street's already a hazard.
Well, Pat, let me ask you a question. Are you
Yeah.
bringing this up as a marketing detriment to their project? Because
No,
people will
I'm
perceive that and perhaps be less interested, or are you bringing this up as something that would be a public hazard if you could make a left turn there?
Yeah, no, I'm not bringing it up regarding the marketability of the project at all. I'm just thinking about it from the reality of traffic safety and traffic congestion on Wieuca. Because I mean, you know, there's some hours of the day where you can barely move on that street. It's just a standstill. And just thinking people are going to try to cross over an extra lane of traffic to go the other direction, just is opening the door for more safety problems. And we know there's already a lot of traffic issues in that area. So it's totally on public safety and traffic congestion that I'm thinking about, not about the project itself.
Well, I'm not sure that the zoning committee can do anything about the traffic in Atlanta.
Well, it's not the traffic in Atlanta. It's that specific street and the congestion.
No, I live on Lawrence. I come down, take a right and a right and get up to Roswell, and I know that stretch is bad. But Paul, you know, owns land, wants to bet some money on building some houses, and it would be up to the city to try to clean that up, it seems to me. We just had this discussion when we did the Baptist church up at the other end of Wieuca, and it's a terrible issue. But you know, it's not an issue for the zoning committee, in my opinion.
Of course it is.
I don't think so. I don't know who said that, but I don't think it is.
Actually, this is very much like the Wieuca church. So we can ask for conditions, and one of the conditions could be that it's a right out. I mean, that's not
Well, I think it is right in, right out, the way they've got the thing drawn.
No, they can take a left turn. They can come out and take a left turn.
Well, but they may on their own.
You can say you have to turn right.
I think the challenge there is that today, if you're, and I go to those homes all the time, again, because we have 4 homes there. You have 3 to 4 cars per home there. Almost all those homes are rented. And they're going both direction off of 3 curb cuts today. To say that it's worse with 1 curb cut, 1 coming out versus 3, that's a difficult argument to make.
Yeah,
and to
but
say
you've got the volume of people here. Now you've got 11 homes instead of 3
it's
times.
still 1 car at a time though, versus you could have 3 cars right now coming out of those 3 homes at the same time in different directions.
Well, I think
You've got frequency.
I think the other problem you have though is you're putting gates in. And so while on the out, it will help cars coming out, it'll slow that traffic coming out, but coming in, you could create a backlog of vehicles trying to get into the community. And so that'd be something to consider as well. I don't know how that impacts from a traffic impact analysis study. I don't know if that's something that's required as, you know, part of this development, but that could cause challenges going in and backing up traffic versus coming out.
Thank you.
And as another point, that like as a local person who travels that road, 4 times a day almost, the courtesy of the Atlanta driver in this area is if you're coming out of that development and it's 5 o'clock rush hour, traffic's backed up towards Wieuca, somebody will let you out to make a left turn.
Yeah.
It also lets you in to make a right turn.
Yeah.
The traffic is lighter going the other way. It's going to be crowded morning or afternoon, and somebody will always let you go in and make the turn in the opposite direction. It's like Lorden's at Glengarry Drive. I mean, it's we always do it. I mean, Wieuca and Lorden's. We stop, let people make the left turn to go north or south.
I agree.
I think
the other benefit here with the one-way street is that you're not going to have cars backing up into the road where you do have that coming out of their driveways. They're driving straight, they're driving forward. So I would actually think that it would be safer for the cars coming out here than in the single family units that we have now.
That's a very good point, because I can tell you backing up, you're actually backing up uphill coming out of those homes today into West Wieuca today.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
That is not fun. Yeah, that's a very good point. You're face first coming out.
And Jessica, inside the community, there's enough with the street parking, there's enough space between the two units or buildings to park one car. Is that what it would be?
Sorry, got stuck on mute there.
I said, yes.
I got stuck on mute. Yes. So it's wide enough for street parking.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would need one car on one side and have the other lane for traffic to go around.
Right. But it would not, one car would not impede somebody coming out of their garage.
No.
Okay.
And Jessica, did you say that in addition to the on-street parking, one could park a third car, like say parcel 7 there? Is that a striped parking space for I mean, the others have it too, but that would be a place for a third car to park that belonged to parcel 7?
Yes.
2 in the garage and 1 there, and that's not even on the street. Is that
Correct.
true? Plus the on-street, yeah.
Can I ask a quick question about emergency vehicles?
Absolutely.
This does,
very important.
If there were cars parked along the street or sideways on the driveways there, how does an emergency vehicle get through there? I'm thinking of the fire truck. How's it making that turn and weaving past cars on that narrow street?
So the size of the street has actually been reviewed by the fire department in this area already. And that is part of the reason why we have this one-way pathway. Originally, when we had the 2 ways in and 2 ways out, the turn radius in the area was too tight for the fire trucks to maneuver. So this design accommodates for that.
I think Courtney has a good question though. If with cars parked, because you said that right away was 16 feet. So a car parked on one side would lower the right of way down to maybe 10 feet, 11 feet. How wide?
Well, Robert, the fire department signed off on this plan as being adequate.
Okay, all I'm saying, I think I could imagine that. And all I would say is it might mean that their sign off was contingent on this being no parking on the street. But that's what I'm asking, I guess.
Jessica, any comment to that?
Well, the width of a typical parking space is only 8 feet. So you have at least another 8 feet around for the fire trucks to maneuver.
Well, 8 feet, yeah, I've got a feeling this would be no parking allowed on the street per the fire marshal, but I wish y'all could give us clarity on that. I mean, 8 feet's not wide enough for a fire truck. I'm fairly sure.
We can confirm.
So I think that what it means to some other people's comments earlier is that looks like we'd be limited to the 2 parking spaces in each garage, plus a 3rd space in front of each garage door, basically. And maybe that's adequate. I'm not saying it's not adequate, but I'm not sure we can count on on-street parking being allowed by the fire marshal.
Well, I would,
with Kenny on the line, we could have confirmed it. I'm almost positive because I was on the call with the fire marshal as well. And so, I mean, this is pretty standard 16 feet, which allows a fire truck to get by. I mean, that's a standard one-way street with parking on the road. I just would prefer to have Kenny answer the question, but that's essentially what we went through with the city.
Okay. Well, if we wanted to, Jim, we could just say that it's got, you know, which is stating the obvious because it has to conform to fire code.
that's right.
We want to be double sure that it conforms to fire standards. Jim, at some point, I'd like to put up one little, grab the screen so I can show the master plan that we have for this community.
Sure.
Buckhead master plan.
I'd be interested in that. Except for Kenny.
Which we should look at for every project, which we do. Okay, can everybody see this map?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So here's Wieuca coming north, West Wieuca branching off. I'm assuming your project is right around in here?
It's that first purple one. So we actually looked at the future map and actually when we bought these homes and developed it, because in actuality, the map that I've seen for future development has that triangular piece zone as a future park.
But yeah, I wouldn't use the word zoned, but
I'm not sorry.
This is like a wish list more than a zoning.
Yeah, so in your wish list for the zoning committee, it actually had that triangle as a future park. That's actually where we originally got the idea.
Yeah, but I would say there, I would agree. This, I mean, I don't exactly understand why this is our master plan. I guess I don't exactly understand why we do it like this, but it's certainly part of our wish list was to have some green space conserved.
Yeah.
Back toward the creek. I don't know why it comes up so close to the road, but anyway.
And
and this color is different than the R3 color.
Right.
So in other words, this master plan anticipated something going in that was at least a little more dense than R3. So when I look at this, I would say that the spirit of your project is in keeping with the spirit of the master plan.
Yep.
Some green space conservation and somewhat higher density. In fact, that color corresponds to, it says, but not super high density. It's not like it's multifamily.
Right.
Low density residential, which is even though it says low density, it's higher density than single family is.
Right.
So my personal interpretation, which takes some interpretation when you look at these master plans, which are kind of visionary, is this is in keeping with the spirit of the master plan. Does anybody have any argument with that, or?
That's very helpful.
I just think it's always useful for us as a committee and as a neighborhood to look at our own master plan and see if we think we're in keeping with it or not.
And
well, they're currently zoned R4, but this is not R4.
Right.
It's there would be probably more than 3, but less than 11 if we start with R4.
So actually, that first purple one. So there's that little purple there.
Hang on, let me zoom in one more.
Yeah, if you zoom in on that. So I'd like to say we were that smart and visionary, but we just took your guys' ideas in coming up with this. So it's hard to see here, but that second purple right there is our second property. The first one is already zoned RLC. The second one is future zoning. Your vision was to have that second one RLC as well. And then to your point, this is it was expected the same zoning as the townhomes here to be either higher density single family or some type of townhouse. That's sort of where we got the idea in the first place. So
Okay.
I'd like to say we were that smart, but it made a lot of sense when we looked at it, and it would be great to have that whole green area filled in eventually over time.
Okay, anybody, I'm going to take off the share unless someone has another comment on this. Okay.
Any other comments or are we done?
I was able to follow up on the 16-foot one-way, and the reason why it was approved by the fire marshal, even with street parking on one side, is because the proximity to the fire hydrants is close enough that they can do a hose pull. So it means that they don't always need to pull the truck around to the back of the units in order to access a fire hydrant.
Perfect.
Jim, I got one question. This is Cam.
Oh, hey, Cam.
Hey, Jim. Is there a way for you guys to build more parking in the back of that development where you have the green space? And if there's any kind of parking issue, you know, it can overflow back there where you have the park.
If we were, it would require another road to be cut through there, which would then cut down on the number of units that were, and it would also require a lot more invasion into the floodplain with concrete or some type of permeous parking. So we were trying to not impede on the floodplain and keep it as much as natural as it is today. Because originally we looked at putting parking back there, and we ultimately pulled it out in order to keep more with the natural environment.
It's not from a cost to build on top of floodplain.
So it's more so the floodplain. It was actually cheaper to build it that way versus trying to work everything into a very tight area. If we have that area in the back, it allows us a lot more space, but we knew it would be much more well accepted by the city and we thought our community if we didn't impede on the floodplain area. And it's a gated community, so I mean it's gated there, so there's really not there shouldn't be a ton of parking in the community. And we didn't want also, I think someone also brought up the point about, you know, more cars and there's, you know, a park. We didn't want to create an avenue for more people to be parking in there.
Courtney, you have something else to add? You have your hand up?
No,
Oh,
I'm good. That was from before. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
But
All right.
if this moves forward, when is this all going to be happening? Like the building and the opening target date and all that?
So we hope to get started fairly quickly with if there was to be an approval in October, which is what the city meeting is now planned for, depending on obviously a lot of factors, but we would hope to get started pretty quickly after that. The market seems there's a lot of demand in the market right now for this type of product, and we would hope to be able to provide that to the market quickly.
Okay, so like 2023 launch sometime.
Correct. That would be great if we could get it up and by then.
Okay, thank you.
Pat, are you looking to move? Should we take your phone number?
No, I'm very happy here where I am, except for the traffic and no sidewalks, as Robert knows. But other than that, we love it here.
I'd like to ask, sorry, Jim, let me ask you one last question. We touched on the green space. And you said you've had some conversations with Livable Buckhead. Have they committed to taking it, or it's just an option? It's your desired option. They might take it. And if they don't, then I guess the homeowners association would own it. Is that what would happen? Who would own it? Who would own that land?
That's correct. Yeah, the homeowner association would then own it, but our intent is to donate it. We've had discussions. Sally said that Livable Buckhead would be more than willing to take it at no cost. They tend to like that. So we don't necessarily see an issue there. Livable Buckhead, because of their their involvement with the path and everything else, it seems to be the right group to work with it. And they've kind of been through this quite a few times now. So we thought it made a lot of sense. But we're always open to different nonprofits if there are others that you think are better.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Get it circulated this week because it needs to be at NPUB by Tuesday evening, and by Monday evening, we'll have to talk about it at the board meeting. So I'll get everybody, I'll get something written up with any conditions and get everybody, Paul, you'll want to see it, I suppose, and that sort of thing. And we'll go from there. So thanks everybody for coming in. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.